Were any of your immediate close friends or any of your family arrested in that period those first couple of years?
I was arrested. I was in jail. I was jailed by the Germans. But this is a story, it's unbelievable. And I was arrested by a Jew who, how is he, squealed? No, yeah. Who denounced me rather. What happened is Jewish people weren't allowed to use trains. And even Polish people at that time, apparently, when they had to use a train, they needed certain certificates. Not in the beginning, later, but in the beginning, you needed a certificate, or you had to look very Aryan. So many Jews wanted those certificates to get them in order to travel to the country to bring some food for the families. We supposed to share our apartment with somebody. And those people, very often people were assigned to you. You didn't know who will get into your place. But this time, a friend of mine came and said, look, there is a family, there are two people with a daughter. They need a place. They're from Kalisz. They are now in Warsaw. They are nice people. If you will take them in, at least you know whom you are taking in. You have the right to do it. Unless, if you haven't got whom to take in, then the community sends some people in to your apartment. Now, we agreed to take in this couple with its daughter. What happened is, the first day the man moved in, he came to me and he said, if you know somebody who needs a certificate with a Polish name, that he wants to travel to bring some food to Warsaw, and he needs a certificate, I can give him such a certificate. That was illegal, naturally, but, people did it. People bought those illegal documents, and people made them up, I don't know. And I was a naive girl. I went to my girlfriend. I had very few left, because most of the young people were, left Warsaw. And very few young people were left in Warsaw, so I had very few friends, and I was really bored most of the time. But I went to this friend and I told her, that we have now a man who can make such certificates. If you know somebody who wants to go to the province to buy some food, go ahead. I know this man, he is now moved into our place. What happened? The following day, when I was out, Gestapo came to look for me. The whole neighborhood was on the street. Everybody knew that they came to look for me. When I came home, my mother, father cried. They said, Gestapo looked for you. I right away knew the connection. If I told this girl about this fellow, her brother was in the Jewish police, the Ghetto police. And so I had a feeling, and the Ghetto police was not always very nice. Some of them didn't behave too well towards Jews. I somehow had a feeling that was the connection. And they will come 1 o'clock to pick you up. It was early in the morning. They came, I wasn't in, I walked out. They'll come 1 o'clock. I said, so somebody suggested that I shouldn't show up 1 o'clock, but I was afraid if they'll not find me, they might they arrest my father. So I decided I'm going to wait for them. And I waited for them. They arrested me. They arrested also this poor Mr. Fagin, the fellow, That was very sad. And I was in jail. I was jailed. And I found quite a few women, the same 21 women in one room. One of them was a dancer. They were all arrested for something that they did illegally, that we were supposed to give all the fur coats away, all our radios away, and not supposed to have a printer or a typewriter. Everything had to be given to the German. But they found something in her. There was a woman with a 12-year-old daughter,
they found an illegal press in her house. So she was jailed and her daughter. And there was an opera singer. She from time to time had to make sure that her voice is still working. So she used to say, woo, you know, make all these, all the exercise for her mouth, but had to be loud.
Yeah.
Cool, you know, all these things. We had to listen to it. We had sometimes to follow her in her voices, you know, and she made something cool. We had to follow her. I'm laughing. Now it's so funny, and that time was so natural, horrible.
Yeah.
There was a comedian, and she was terrific in voices, like a cow, woo, woo.
So she used to cheer you guys up? She used to cheer people up? Yeah?
Yeah, I kept talking about it. I didn't realize that I find it so funny now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when will they give us performances? When they felt that one of us is sad, one of us is crying, one of us something hurts her, she can't complain. For instance, with me, it bothered my fingers were always black because we, the Jewish girls, we were not only punished once but twice. Once we were in because we are Jewish girls in prison, and the second time because the Jewish girls, they wanted us to work, to clean the floors in the cells, to clean the floor in the long corridor, but they didn't give us any rags to use. So we didn't have, so my hands were always wet. Wet all day. Wash the floor, but use your underwear. Something like that they will say.
Yeah.
And so this was the story of the, and when I took the course, and I decided to write about this, and the class was fascinated because here is a girl sitting who was in jail. You know, for them, the American people, what was I in jail for? When they look at me and they know I was jailed.
Yeah.
But it's hard to explain how they arrested girls, young women, for, I don't know, somebody said something about them. Yeah, I was arrested because my friend's brother said something about me, and Gestapo came and arrested me. And what was very tragic, true for my parents, especially for my parents.
Yeah. Now, what about, there was a fortune teller there too in this? There was somebody who was telling people's fortunes?
Yes. Yeah, oh yes.
Yeah.
And we had, the 20 people. Each of them was different. There was a woman from the country who couldn't write or read, but she could predict dreams. Mm-hmm. So as soon as I had a dream, I would run to her and tell her this. And then she will tell you what will happen. I had once a dream, which is true. I had a dream that I was out of jail, and I saw my parents, I was with my parents, and I rushed to her and I told her the story. She said, Maria, soon you'll be free. Okay, I believed her. And indeed, maybe 2 weeks later, they opened the door and said, go. They threw me out of the jail. Mm-hmm. Never called to the headquarters for interviews or for nothing. Never. So I was lucky that they didn't call me because they slap you and they hit you. Sometimes the Germans, just take revenge on you. Mm-hmm. Even when they arrested me and they had put me in the car to take me to jail, the guy said, I know with whom you slept last night. I know who your boyfriends were. Just for your morale, that our morale should get low, so they tell you all kinds of stories. But I didn't hear it. I mean, I heard and I
Shut it out.
Closed my mind. I closed my mind. I somehow managed to do it. Till I got to jail. Till I got to the people, the 21 women that at the end we were like sisters together. Mm-hmm. There was also this girl, Hasian, her name. And she told me that she had a brother who was deaf, a young guy of 12 years old is deaf, and I was always sorry for her. And I don't know why she was in jail. I really don't know. Anyhow, but when she heard that I'll be dismissed, they gave me a day or half a day to gather my things. So she took me aside, and we are not allowed to take letters out. But she wanted me to help. She wrote like a letter, and I had to repeat every word, every second word, by mouth, you know, like
you had to memorize it.
I had to memorize her letter to the parents and a few lines for her brother. So that's what I did. And as soon as I got out of jail, I said to my parents, I have to do two things. One is I have to go to Kasha's parents, and I knew her address, I had the address, I had to remember where she lived and everything. And tell them what you wrote down, a few lines. And for your brother, and when I came, I met her father, but I never met her brother. He wasn't there. He was working apparently in a factory. So that was one message. And obligation, the second was to a Polish woman. She used to serve lunch and suppers, used to bring a big pot with hot soup and a pig for lunch and a big pot with hot soup for supper. And we stood with our bowls and stand in line, and she would come and pour the soup for us. So she was so good to me, she liked me somehow, that she used to find meat for me, a piece of meat, to make sure that I had this. Mm-hmm. It's so sad.
She was a worker there. She wasn't a prisoner.
No, she was also in jail. She was in jail.
Oh, okay.
But they made her do this. That was her job there.
Yeah.
They made her do this, you know.
Yeah.
They used people to work for them.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And not just, jail. You have to do, like we had to wash the floor.
She had to work in the kitchen.
She had to serve lunch and supper.
Yeah.
So I said to my father, we have to send a parcel. And, how I sent, I also remember. So when my father made a little parcel, made a little pouch, and we had some sugar in it, and tea, and crackers, and a few cookies, you know. Mm-hmm. We made a little parcel, and I had to bring it to one of the guards, the Polish women were guards there in jail. And I used to bring it, my father used to bring to her parcels for me. I had sugar occasionally, a little bit of bread, you know.
Yeah.
And so I knew this woman. She was the Polish women were terrific.
I'll tell you how it happened. There was a very famous couple of informers, Jewish informers in the ghetto. Their name was Kohn and Heller. My mother used to go every day to this office and scream and yell and cry and warn them if they will not get me out of the jail, she will break every piece of furniture there. And she did it for a long time. She was sitting on their steps and screaming and yelling and crying apparently. And they got so tired of it that one day they just came and they released me without hearing nothing. They just got out of jail. That's it.